This podcast is brought to you by Card Academy, where you can find all the latest and greatest in Weiss Schwartz and card supplies. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Ninth Hour podcast. I'm joined today by Melanie, Travis, Clinton, Aaron, and in spirit, Bren, who come from all walks of the game. We are all gathered here today to talk about the BCS that will be starting in 2017, or the Bushiroad Championship Series. And we wanted to all gather some opinions from people who are, well, either on the team of 9th CX or who have, basically been featured before and have done quite well, and or have perhaps had a hand in things. Now, for those who are not familiar with the changes that are coming up in the next year, in 2017, Weiss Schwartz is shifting its current system to include shop tournaments for the regional and then world championships. Intercontinentals are being phased out, and the regionals are going to feed directly into the event, or the final event in Japan. Now, for shop tournaments, coupons for a 2-round buy will be given to players who win the specific shop tournaments that are going to be distributed among stores. Now, this has caused some reactions from hype to perhaps concern. So, again, we've gathered everybody here to kind of sound off on what they think of these upcoming changes. So first we have here the newest member of 9th CX, Travis. Travis, what would you like to say about these changes? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I think what Bushiroad's trying to do with this is a nice, well, I don't want to say it making the game more competitive than it already can be at these events, but eliminating the intercontinental, like, nationals per se, and just having regionals feed to worlds gives players like more opportunities to go out to play the world tournament instead of having to be like one of the top three to make that spot. I guess there's a lot less pressure as you move higher onto the tournament, knowing that maybe there's another regional you can go to and top there to go directly to the world tournament. Now, I don't know how they're going to do exactly these 2-round buys, but it's just going to have to be something we see as they give us more information about it.
Yeah, great. Let's move on to Melanie. Melanie, I know that you have some concerns and some also some things to say about this new system coming up. So what do you have to say for everybody about this?
So the pros to this, I think, is that they're trying to get more playing happening at the local level. So by instituting these new 2-round buys that can be won at local shop tournaments, they're trying to just get more players involved at the local level instead of just only showing up at the regional level to play. The cons kind of have to do a little bit with just the general organization that we've dealt with the Bushiroad tournament system. First off, according to their preliminary draft, these shop challenges, you can decide to participate in them or not. It won't stop you from still traveling to a regional and participating. If you win one of these shop challenges, you'll be presented with a ticket for a 2-round buy that can be used for that game. You may only use one 2-round buy per game, per regional, and they will be tied to a photo ID. So they are going to be taking photos of the people that win these 2-round buy tickets. However, there's nothing to stop players from getting more than one 2-round buy ticket, let's say from multiple stores or something. It's just that you simply can only use one per regional. So if you're a Weiss player and you win a 2-round buy ticket, you can only use it at the Chicago regional, for example. If you decide to go to Atlanta or Texas or somewhere else, you would need another 2-round buy ticket if you wanted to take advantage of that. Some of the small cons I see to this is that that the shop tournament support has been very flaky. Some shops regularly fire events and still don't get. They have trouble getting promos. They have trouble getting included in some of these special events. Some of it's due to people just not like letting Bushiroad know and communicating to sign up, but some of it is shops getting overlooked. I know last spring at our local shop we had a small issue with they were giving away, we were supposed to give out to every player who participated in our local tournaments every week a little promo coupon that allowed people to redeem it if you got a certain number for shop promos. Well, our shop, we regularly fire tournaments with about 14 to 15 players for Weiss, and we also have Vanguard that fires, and they severely shortchanged us promos. We were only really able to give them out to players for about 2 weeks, and the locals that really wanted the promos actually had to trade with other locals to get those tickets so that they had enough to redeem. So that's a number one concern, is that they really need to update their shop listings and make sure that when they set up these shop challenges that the shops have the option of getting the support for it. The other con that I can see is that because it encourages competitive play, but sometimes this encouragement can also be negative. Players may flock to certain stores that they feel are soft spots just to get these 2-round buy tickets. And if a player is planning on playing in more than one regional and they don't schedule all these shop challenges on the same date, which has its own list of cons that could block more participants from playing if they're always the same weekend, it could also encourage people to just go around and farm buys, which I suppose happens in other level competitive card games, such as Magic and others that could be named here. But I could see that as a con to the tournament format, just in general. But I suppose the opposing argument would have to do with the fact that we're trying to benefit the more competitive player here. And Bushiroad recently has acknowledged that the Weiss Shorts community wants to play super competitively, and that they're not as interested in casual play based off of some sales data and stuff from this past year. So I think this turn, we're going to kind of have to just wait and see. It could either be good for the community or it could be a challenge.
So, I mean, speaking of competitive players, I mean, we have the current reigning 2015 English World Champion with us, Clinton, as many listeners might recognize. The man who has just won it all with Contai and asks himself, why can't I fit all of these trophies on my wall? But, Clinton, what are your thoughts about this system?
I think the most important part of this system is it finally makes the spring circuit not irrelevant. Because anybody who's ever participated in Springfest and then have the fortune to actually, win one and qualify, there was almost no point to going to the Continentals for that event. Because even if you win it, it doesn't really mean anything. And then, you still have to prepare yourself for the fall one, which have a chance to get you to Japan, and that was the most important one. So I feel like that way having them both mean something throughout the whole year is really great. So you don't have people like Connor, who's extremely good but only really qualifies well during the spring and then gets random out during the fall, and he'll be able to participate, in the grammar scheme of things. Then I like how it also increases the amount of participants at Worlds. So instead of the usual of like only 8, according to my math, it's probably going to bump up to like about 30 to 40 participants, and that would make it a considerably more interesting event. I feel that involving participation in the store level is really important because over time, that's really make or break the popularity of your game, and I felt like it was waning because there wasn't really that much support. And I think the buy system was very interesting. First, I thought it was going to be really bad because although you got free wins, the tiebreakers are going to suck under what I understood from the current Bushiroad buy system. But Kazuma said that they're weighted buys and they count a lot more than just somebody who's at 0 tiebreakers at a,
right. In theory,
the equal record.
Sorry to cut in, but in theory, any awarded buys, and this should apply to any tournament structure, but awarded buys tend to count as a 100% win percentage. At least I know that in Magic, if you're awarded a buy, this is what happens to your breakers, that you are given 100% for that. So
Yeah,
they
I knew
should
some
let that
games
similar.
have it, and I think the current Bushiroad software, they determine tiebreakers by just, net win-loss percentages per opponent.
Yep.
So I think now that they're weighted, that, they're an asset and not a detriment.
That's what we're hoping. So now we have with us as well Aaron, who we've decided is the 2016 Rookie of the Year based on his rather legendary streak of not only qualifying for nationals in his first season, but also winning a full BWC. As somebody who is, I guess, kind of a recently competitive player, Aaron, what are your thoughts about these changes?
Well, I think it's great that more people can go to Japan and it goes straight to Japan from the regionals instead of this intermediate thing. Well, I would have liked that this year because I could have gone, but that's besides the point. Um, I do like that they're trying to get more shop involvement. I just hope that it doesn't screw over some of the regions that don't have as much support. I know in NorCal, I'm talking the JP side of things. There was only one shop, and that was our locals, Game Castle, that was hosting a regional in order to go to WGP in Rochester. And I know there were a lot of other places with a bunch of local shops that had few players, and you get a lot of wins, a lot of buys there. I just hope that it doesn't screw over that because I know, well, I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that California has probably the biggest NA WISE support, and we only had one regional up north, and I think maybe two down south. Again, I could be wrong. And this seems to be one of the more competitive areas. But obviously, the more rounds it goes. Sure. I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, my biggest gripe with the tournament structure has nothing to do with these changes. It's the fact that it's a best of one format, but I could go off on that another time. But overall, I think the buy system rewarding good players for playing at the shops locally is a good thing, and having more people go to Japan is also a good thing. So I welcome the changes.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think we can all take away from this is that at the end of the day, we're going to end up with, as Clinton said, a much bigger Worlds event in Japan, and that means that many more people getting to go to Japan, which is for people who play this game, if I can say my bit, really great because I mean a lot of us are in it for the fandoms of the various series that we like, or at least that's how we got started, most likely. And getting to just go to Japan at all is pretty awesome. Now, Bren had some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to be reading off his thoughts here for him, and then we'll go to a few more questions, and we'll wrap things up. So, now speaking on Bren's behalf, here we go. There's a lot of change going on here, and it would be very important to note that this is after months and months of Bushiroad collecting data and opinions from the English or EN playing base. This is not at all a final version of this product, and they are undoubtedly going to use this year and potentially next year to continually refine it. And yes, I referred to the championship as a product because in all essence it is. With all of this change comes quite a few concerns. While in Canada, where I reside, the general understanding of where the active stores are is relatively sound. In America, I hear horror stories in some locales from not being properly acknowledged by Bushiroad, and that is indeed a problem that does need to be fixed. Another one comes from the implementation of the buy system, especially since we are unsure how foolproof the non-transferable nature of the buy card will be. Can a store run a fake tournament without any supervision and just award the buy to a staff member that plans on attending? Finally, will there be a fix of the tournament software, as there is currently incorrect coding for the first tiebreaker as highlighted by other players? Some will also complain about no more rewards for second place and down and top cut, but I feel this is a worthy exchange. all these concerns notwithstanding, there are some positives with the implementation of this circuit, as it cuts out costs heavily from not having nationals, directs focus to seeing Japan, which was the goal of the tournaments in the first place from Bushiroad's perspective, and allows a competitive atmosphere to thrive without breaking the company MO. This is a way Bushiroad is able to appeal to the competitive aspect of the game without actually breaking their own personal motto. Now, to await what tournaments will exist for the non-competitive players. And to leap off of Bren's point where he leaves there, I wanted to pose this question to everybody. What do you think would be a good step for the players who are less competitive? Do you think that these changes mean that there might be a little bit more support for the stores in general? Because after all, as it goes, as Clinton was saying, you have to go with your grassroots, you have to go with your mom and pop shops to really sustain your player base. But a lot of the players who don't want to play competitively might feel a little violated by that. So do you think there's an opportunity to expand support for that? Travis, what do you think?
My honest concern for that is if, like, I'm going to use someone from my locals as an example. They don't really like playing the big competitive sets that constantly are topping tournaments. They like to play these small, like extra booster size sets or sets that haven't been seen in years as sort of like a casual thing. Now, if by changing this to a more competitive nature, let's for say Bushiroad only releases the sets that were extremely well topping in the Japanese side and only to the English side, what does that leave for the more casual players to get a hold of these sets when everybody who's in the competitive side cutthroating each other just to try and get like the cards needed? So from my perspective, I think if they still keep releasing like the not so competitive sets and just do like set lock tournaments for the casual players, that would be sort of interesting, but I'm honestly not so sure how they're going to do it for the casual players.
Yeah, and we'll touch on some of those points that you got to later about like sets and about printing, but I just wanted to really capture the the question of, do you think that there is an opportunity for them to do more for the non-competitive player here? Clinton, what do you think? What do you think would be an opportunity there, since you were the one who articulated it in so well in the prior point?
I believe as long as the bigger tournaments are free to enter, that they're always gonna be appealing for the casuals, because it doesn't really take anything away from them besides just traveling expense, and then they could still have a fun day. I think I guess that the one thing they could do more is probably have more interesting sponsored event and providing stores with cool stuff. Like I remember when they had Sword Art Day #2. I really wanted that mug.
Did you get it?
And I lost.
Sorry, I got it. So.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, that could have been my mug.
Yeah, that one was a pretty hot item. Hey, Melanie, you gave us the most thorough pro and con of the changes. Do you think that there's an opportunity here for expansion of incentives for the non-competitive side of the game?
I'm coming from a different perspective on this based off of some pretty successful shop sales data, both locally and online. And I can tell you that, Bushiroad has been trying to listen to players and listening to their feedback. And the past 2 years, they've been following some survey data that they collected in late 2014 to help inform them of like what set licenses to release and sell. And this year was kind of an experiment. They released some alongside some of the top meta breaking sets in the JP meta, like Cinderella Girls, and then that was released alongside Haruhi. And I can tell you at a shop level, what sold more strongly was the competitive sets, and have continued to sell. The sets that have been topping in events, those are the singles, and those are the cards, and those are the sealed boosters that are still selling. And while there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of people, still buying their favorite set out there, that's less and less this year than it has been in the past. And I think a little bit, I hate to say this, the English players have somewhat spoken with their wallets a little bit this last year. I think To Love Rue, that announcement being announced for early 2017 is the start of Bushy Road recognizing that the English players want a more competitive scene, and that they are mostly investing with their wallets into the more competitive sets. So I feel like To Love Rue is the start of a lot more of the more meta, groundbreaking Japanese sets that sold really well coming out into English. I think that that's kind of just the starting point. And I think, unfortunately, the players that are probably going to have the most difficult time with this buy system transition and stuff are the players that are a little bit more casual. But unfortunately, it's not been the casual players that have been supporting the game this past year. And so Bushy Road is kind of looking at it, and from a little bit maybe cold business standpoint, yeah, we're listening to you guys. You've spoken with your wallets, though, a little bit too. I think if they handle the buy cards correctly, if they strongly enforce the photos, if they enforce deck list checks like they do on the Japanese regional side of the game, if they start stepping it up a little bit in those areas, I actually think that the buy system will be a great incentive for competitive players. The casual players, please come play casually. I think that these shop tournaments are going to be once a season. They're probably going to be early on in the season. So you're really only going to see that hardcore competitive challenge at the shop level, probably maybe the week or two before as people are play testing and gearing up, and then the actual event, and things will calm down afterwards. And I think that come out, play, participate. I think it'll be okay in the end. I am going to kind of just reserve judgment on this stuff, though, because until I see what they actually do, how it actually gets implemented, I'm going to give them a shot to prove it, that they can handle it.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair way of saying it, very open-minded. So, Aaron, do you think there's an opportunity to access the casual players still here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, but I'm just going to speak from my personal opinion, not necessarily from a logistics or a business standpoint, but I really would like them to keep casual and pro play separate. Like, I would be perfectly okay if these tournaments that allow you to go to Japan were paid, and they keep releasing these pro sets. I feel like not every set is going to be a top meta set unless every new set is the top meta set, because unless English sets are being released faster than JP sets, which is not the case, like they can't catch up. So you're gonna be seeing the more popular sets, and if the hardcore players are buying more cards than the casual players, then yeah, they're gonna keep releasing the more meta sets, but casual players are still going to play. Shop levels can be casual. Hell, Bushy Road can release casual events, kind of like I consider Springfest was a casual event. There wasn't really any reward to it, but it was casual players like big turnout stuff too, and it's fun to just go hang out, check out vendors, meet a bunch of people you don't normally see when you go traveling, etc., etc. But then at another level, it's also fun for pro players to go in knowing they're playing against other pro players, and it's just a different environment, and it's personally something I would like to see. And if they were paid entry, then there might be, honestly, like I think they should experiment, see if you do actually get a much lower turnout or not. Something tells me that might not be the case, especially if it's something small like $5 or whatnot. And I think it would be just a lot more constructive fun. And like I said, casual players still have fun at their local level. They've got friends. Go to your local shops. Kind of like Melanie was saying, most people at the shops aren't real tryhards, and except you've got maybe that one niche group or whatever that just tries to win all the time, every time. But for the most part, from my experience anyway, a lot of people are casual and fun.
Now,
But I do like the competitive scene as well, and best of three. But
so
yeah, that's my opinion.
not to over convolute things, but there is actually on the legal side of things a very big incentive for Bushiroad to keep things free. The potential impact on player attendance notwithstanding, historically, especially with also Magic tournaments, what has gotten people into trouble, or at least sometimes what has tipped off other forces that are undesirable in tournament scenes is actually the appearance of gambling, and the introduction of a fee or a tournament fee for these events has been or has caused some issues for other companies in the past. At least this is what I've heard. Now, what I can't say this with any authority myself because I'm not a lawyer, but I can say that I can observe that there is a distinct legal incentive for them to keep things free, because then they don't have to worry at all about anybody misinterpreting their events for the purposes of anything else but fun. So I think while there are certainly a number of players, we don't know how many, but I would certainly not say that opinion ends with you, Aaron, that would actually appreciate and embrace a paid tournament structure. But given what we've seen from the company culture level, as well as a potential legal standpoint, they might not be so quick to embrace that. Those are my thoughts on that. So there's one last elephant in the room that we wanted to get into, as Melanie touched on, is that TLR has been slated for release in January of 2017. It's coming up real soon. And if anybody remembers what the WGP meta was like, at least in North America last year, that was kind of the year of TLR. The year before that, of course, we had Nisekoi before the whole ban list, but the year after, they printed TLR, and now with a much smaller card base, or card pool rather, we have what is a very powerful set. I think we can all agree on a very powerful set coming to English with apparently no edits. And this is not like the whole Kantai thing where Junyo, suspiciously sank herself and then came back with different abilities. But barring any surprises, it should make its appearance here in its full yellow and green form, because nobody ever paid attention to blue and red. Oh, I'm sorry. Bren's not here. Did I say that? I should probably edit this out. But let's go down the list again and see what you guys think about how this could affect the meta, and how it also plays into the context of these changes. Do you think that this might be just kind of the beginning of hyper-competitive WS in English, or could it be the beginning of the end, really, of Weiss Schwarz in general? And let's go to Clinton first for this one. What do you think?
Well, I think TLR is a pretty good set. I don't think it's I think it's overhyped as the Doombringer, which is too good. And from playing against it, in my few interaction, in my surprisingly more often not interaction, cross languages, I don't think it's that frightening or overpowering of a deck. It's especially not as ridiculous as when I played against unnerfed Nisekoi in the past.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's a very strong set. I think like Kantai, very few people are gonna play it well, and even fewer people than that are actually gonna play it well enough to be, on the upper echelon of competitiveness.
So do you think then that the what do you think about the set then? I mean, we have your opinion, but I mean, in the whole long scope of things, do you think that they're going to continue to only release these fairly strong sets, or do you think that it's just going to go downhill?
I don't think there's gonna be too many more ridiculous sets. It's not like after TLR we're gonna expect nonstop, more ridiculous sets where they're constantly power creeping each other. Because if you look at what's in Japan now and what's potentially coming Japan later, and compared to what they could actually, reasonably get rights for in English,
I mean,
that
they have Star
you
Wars.
know yeah, or it's gonna spike. It's gonna be like waves where it's gonna spike up and down in power levels nonstop because you can't constantly keep printing the best because of either logistical issues or legal reasons.
I think that's fair. So, Aaron, what do you think? Do you think that this is a really good thing, a sign of more powerful sets to come, or do you think this is one of the four horsemen?
Well, two things. One, I really don't think TLR is going to break the English meta. I was not playing, obviously, I started back in December, so I was not playing when Kantai was released in JP, but I heard that that shook the meta and people expected it to do the same in English, and it really didn't. I don't know about other regions, but it was very underrepresented in Cali. Barely any topped. Like, I saw non-stop CG and Love Live, which makes me think that Californians love their idol waifus, and I'm right there with them. But second thing is that I think they might have start released TLR not just because players wanted it, but to prepare for Monogatari second season and CG2, because CG1 and the other two Monogataris have already come out in English, so it makes sense that those would come out next. And as seen by JP tournament statistics, Monogatari and CG2 have been topping like nonstop, that they even got hit with their own ban list, which makes me also wonder if or when it does come to English, how they're going to deal with that. TLR not getting restricted is fine because it wasn't restricted in JP, but I'm more curious about that.
Yeah, and for everybody to know, we in 96, if you also remember, about half a year ago, we also did a survey of our own and sent it off to Bushiroad. And the interesting coincidence is that a lot of the popular sets that we polled for in that little thing was actually or have actually seen print. Ilya was near the top, and that's been printed since. A lot of people are hoping for Monogatari to come to EN as well, at least the second season. And TLR was actually near the top of that list as well, and well, we know that that's coming in just a few months. So we're not going to say that we had any any hand or influence in it, but it's just a interesting, I guess, coincidental following of events there. We also want to note that as far as an English ban list or revisions or letting things go as is, we had a kind of a 33-33-33 split evenly across the board. It was very close on whether people wanted sets to be released as they were, whether they wanted cards like adjusted, kind of like Nisekoi, or whether they should be a ban list. And a very contentious subject there. So, Melanie, what do you think about TLR's presence in the English meta?
I feel like it's similar to what was just said. It's the start off of some. It's a way to kind of level out what's going to happen when and if we get Monogatari second season and Idol Masters Cinderella Girls set 2. They needed something else in the meta that was a matchup for those decks. Those decks are super competitive. I don't know how they're going to handle the fact that both sets have a restriction list in Japanese. I can tell you as a buyer who is somewhat a little harsh on the English side of the game, because both of my sets have gotten slaps on the wrist, and because they were on the ban list. and well, and it has a lot to do with how they handled that. But without getting into that kind of detail, I can honestly say I just hope that they continue the precedent that they've set here with To Love Rue and being very transparent with buyers that, yes, we're going to print this set as is. Or if they're going to change cards, instead of just telling us that they're changing cards, please spoil them so that people know what they're investing in. That would kind of be my only caution to them, is that fans that really love an anime and are saving up all their money to buy a set in English, they don't want to get cards changed or stuff done to them and it not be transparent. Sure, do those things. Be transparent about it, because I think that the English players, one of the things that's happened is that there has been a very slight shake in buyers' confidence, and they need to kind of quash that if they're going to continue with the English side of the game. I know that they've got a lot of challenges with that. They don't want to have to enforce a ban list. The Japanese side of the game would tell you that having a ban and restriction list greatly hurts set sales. It greatly hurts when the set even gets support again. That it's a proven fact. So there are reasons why that they're, going out of their way to avoid this on the English side of the game. But, yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch happen. Hopefully, like what I'm echoing from earlier, what's happening here is we're just, they're just trying to slide us into the next Japanese power creep, which is, unfortunately, we've got some sets sitting, waiting for sequels that are at that line.
And to round things off, Travis, I know you've gotten the last words here, but what do you think?
I honestly think To Love Rue entering the English meta is neither a good or a bad thing. It's just there.
It's a thing.
Because what I see from this is the English meta doesn't really have anything to say no to auto damage, with the exception of Log Horizon, which in my opinion isn't really that great without the power-up set. But what I can also see from this is that decks such as Haruhi Alien with the blue level 2 no to your climax counter might see some play, along with the level 3 Gilgamesh in Fate, where you pay the cost, discard a climax to get rid of your opponent's climax. So I could see a lot more those types of decks being played when To Love Rue becomes released. Now, it is going to shake the meta, honestly, because it, in my opinion, is a very powerful set, being just let loose, unchanged, as is, whereas previous sets such as Nisekoi or Junio magically disappearing somewhere and coming back with the new abilities completely change that tempo, although Kantai is unrestricted here where we don't have that choice of 3. Well, that's just my speculation, though, but we'll just have to see when the set actually releases what it actually does with English tournaments and such.
And before we get the pitchforks, yes, everyone, he did know that it was Archer. It's fine. We're okay. It's actually,
I'm sorry.
It's actually Archer, but it's all right. Everybody knows about the card, at least if they play it. So, well, anyway. Wrapping things up here, it looks like we have a very interesting season coming up for us in 2017. I think the most of us, perhaps all of us here, can say that we'll either wait and see and hope for the best, really, because at the end of the day, we all care very much about this game. We like playing the game. We like the community that it builds. I would hope that we all here like each other.
Ooh, can I interject really quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
So, since there's going to be an autumn and spring, from what my understanding was, there's going to be 2 sets of store tournaments for those buys. So I expect spring to be a mess, and hopefully they'll fix it by autumn.
If they can get things turned around that quickly, if they go so poorly, which we recognize it might, that'd be pretty impressive. I think we're just going to say, all right, Bushi Road, impress us, do your best, fight all, and
yeah,
yeah.
Because I expect the first attempt to definitely have a bunch of bumps and hiccups, and then I think because they know the concerns of people ahead of time, and hopefully by seeing it, the first time around, that they'll have a more concrete plan for autumn in case I think some screw ups in spring is inevitable.
Yeah, and like Melanie said too, the players will vote with their wallets. If things go really poorly, Bushiroad is probably going to feel those effects all the way to the top in declining sales. And I think I would hope that they would know. I'm pretty sure we can give them the benefit of the doubt here that they are aware of that very, very delicate, Fabergé egg that is, sales. That comes as a result of, having good tournaments and good support. Well, that about wraps things up here on our end. Do you have things that you would like to say? Give us a comment below. Please make sure to visit our sponsor, Card Academy. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us here. Travis from the team, Melanie from the team, Aaron, the Rookie of the Year, the World Champion, Clinton, and who was with us in spirit, the old 2015 NAWGP Nationals winner, Bren. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Thanks.